Hello, friends. It's your Feral Futures podcast. Welcome back. This is still Nakaya. Today, I am very interested in talking with you about I don't know what to call it, but I know that there are a lot of us out there who are experiencing this. I don't want to call it a phenomenon, so I don't know what the word's going to be, but we are in this experience of watching our world crumble, dissolve, disintegrate, come crashing down, burn down. We're all in our different experiences of it, but the world as we knew it is coming apart. And I am talking about our personal worlds as much as I am talking about the external. And actually, I am interested in talking about our personal world. Clearly, the external world is falling apart. But we, on a personal level, are also experiencing this falling apart. Many of us are. And this is showing up in terms of our relationships with our work. And that's where I'm primarily coming from. Also, our relationships with the people in our lives. Some people are experiencing this in their families, in their love relationships, in their friendships. And there's a relationship with ourselves, what we used to believe in and identify with, and whatever it is that we're experiencing now, which for a lot of people is a lot of questions and no answers. No answers to, is my skill set still relevant? No answers to, will I have a job in the next 6 months? No answers to, what's the future going to be like? So I'm never as coherent and cohesive when I'm speaking out. Actually, I'll take that back. Rarely am I as cohesive when I'm speaking outside of my head as I am when these conversations happen internally. So please just hang in there for the ride with me, because this is an important conversation. And there are other people out there having this conversation from different angles. And it's a really valuable conversation if you have something to add to it from your own experience. It's going to be very helpful to somebody else out there in the world who is also in this place of what I used to be and have access to, I no longer am and no longer have access to. And I cannot see anything in front of me. I can't tell what's in front of me. That brings to mind a conversation. Someone was explaining how in one part of the Egyptian cosmological story, there is a passenger on a boat, and this boat is traveling across a body of water, which we can think of ourselves as traveling across a body of water. And the visibility, the person is trained ahead, like facing ahead in the new direction. And the visibility front to back is not so clear. I'm going to say for our purposes, because this is how it landed for me, we cannot see where we have not been, and what has happened in the past is no longer accessible in terms of us being able to hold on to it as an anchor. There are two people that I have come across this week. One of them's brand new, and I'm going to share their channels. And I encourage you to go check them out, take a listen. They are speaking about this experience of losing continuity with ourselves, is what I'll call it right now. So I'm probably speaking to people who have had some kind of career identity, some kind of very strong family identity, some kind of social identity that was very strong, very clear. People who may have served and helped a lot of people or been well known in your community. It can be a community of 10, but it's this experience of having had a strong, deep, and clear sense of belonging, and now entering into a space or being in a space, what feels long term, that's where I am, of having this experience of recognizing that the old is gone. It's gone. The old identity is gone. The old connections are gone. It doesn't mean the people are gone necessarily. For a lot of people, it's a sense of disinterest, disconnection, or it could also be a sense of, I have done all that I can do in those spaces. I have maxed out my capacity to reinvent myself in those spaces, and I don't know what to do. It could be a sense of being burnt out, of having outgrown a situation or a part of ourselves. Things like that. There's so many people, and there's so many ways that this experience of dissolving the old and not having clarity about whatever the next thing is. And not having clarity about what the next thing is what trips a lot of us up. We're very, very uncomfortable not knowing, full stop, not having an answer, full stop. So before I get much further into that, so today I came across, no, we don't want that one. I'm looking through my history. On YouTube, there is a channel called Creative on the Mend. And his first name is Jeff. And the video that I caught today is, does expertise expire? Which is a question I have been asking myself for a few years now. Because that has been my experience. And I have been struggling. With so much. So this man is in my age range, 50s, and he has had a career of about the length of time. We've had a similar career run, a few decades in a career dedicated to developing a particular skill set. And I don't know his full story. If you're interested, you can go check him out. I'm going to tell you, the way the algorithm brings things to me, I'm almost, but not quite curious to see how the data reads me, because the things that get brought into my field are very interesting, like the personalities. And this one seems to have a very strong faith-based orientation, which another conversation maybe I'll go into. It's not really relevant here, but it's a good conversation. Does expertise expire? He's really just telling his story. He's not giving out advice. He's actually at some point talking about his experience, learning that people don't necessarily want advice right now. People want to be heard. I myself don't really want advice, but I want to know that what I'm experiencing it's okay. Like normalizing it, neutralizing the anxiety about being an American who doesn't know what to do with myself professionally. So much of our identity in this country is wrapped up in being a good worker and having a good family. That's really like the range of our identity up to this point in this country. And we're now entering a phase, and it's not like hard stop, now entering a phase. This has been ongoing for several generations. This idea of, am I only the amount of money that I can make? Like, we've been asking this for some time. But with all of the dissolving that's going on in all of the systems in the world that we live in, one of the big questions coming up for people is, why, multiple questions, guys, why is productivity, like why is the AI movement so centered around productivity? No wonder people don't see how AI can enhance or build upon creativity and not its own self-generated creativity, because again, I've said this before, humanity is what has programmed artificial intelligence. That's our stuff. So it's not that the machine, which it's a program, guys, it's not a machine, but the program is not going to generate creativity, but we're still the ones running the program. One of the reasons why we don't think of it as a creative resource is because so much of our identity globally is focused on how much can we produce, whether it's children or things that make money for ourselves and others, which is incredibly not the reason why we're here. Like, we're not here. Oh, that's a tough one. I was going to say we're not here to make more shit, but maybe we are. But to make more money, I feel like that's probably not the reason why we're here. And we make things to make money. Many of us do. And because that's, we've got rent to pay and things to pay for and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we are watching this world that has not worked for many of us for a very, very long time. We are watching it fall apart. And that doesn't feel good all the time, but it's necessary. It's necessary for so many reasons that I, way above my pay grade. But the things that I can understand and recognize is because all of my life, I have heard myself and the people around me say, this world doesn't work. It's not supposed to be this way. People are not supposed to be suffering like because of other people's negligence, or people are not supposed to, like, there is so much abundance and provision on this planet. Why are we pretending that there is not enough for everyone? Why do we do that? We agree, oh yeah, there's not enough for everyone. So there's so much more to it than what I am able to speak. This is one of the reasons why I see this, like, I'm not the only one who sees this. This is one of the reasons why people say that the time of the guru and the time of the single hierarchical leadership it's done. That's another one of the systems that is falling apart. It is dissolving, it's dissolving, going away. But what then is the opportunity? Well, one of the opportunities is that we step into our authority and self-leadership and offer what we understand and see and know and can do. We offer it to the community. We offer it to the group. Many, many leaders stepping forward. And of course, one of our arguments, because we have been trained to see life this way, is, well, not everybody can be a leader. Depends on what we're talking about. And is that true? Like, what are we applying that to? In some situations, maybe that's true. In other situations, not true. And considering that the situations that we're stepping into as we go into this brave new world, we have to be brave. The world is going to be new. So it actually is very appropriate. Brave new world doesn't have to be Aldous Huxley's version of it. But because we don't know what the new is that's coming to meet us, our options are truly wide open. We are truly at a point in our story on this planet where we have the opportunity to create, to truly, truly create. And this is what some of us are being faced with. I think many, many of us are being faced with it. This, what do I want? What do you want? Like, a lot of us don't even know what we want. We think maybe we know what we want, but there's so much there's so much to that. And I think the longer we spend time with the question of what do I want, we'll be able to drop below some of the external conversations around surface level wants. Surface level wants are not, they're nothing to sneeze at, I would say. However, they're probably not the main story. So if we can drop below wanting the thing or wanting the relationship, to ask ourselves, what does having that thing or that experience, what does that bring into my life? What do I become aware of about myself when I have that experience, when I have that thing? That's the deeper layer that I do believe we need to bring that deeper layer of ourselves online going forward. We need more substance in our engagement with our lives going forward. This also takes time. This is a skill that we need to develop. Being able to sit with ourselves, being able to go deeper with our desires, what's motivating it, what's going to be activated, initiated, amplified, turned like into action, what comes alive when I am able to experience this want, this desire in my life. And it is a vague question. Like this is something that I have been struggling with. And I think this might be one of the reasons why I am currently struggling with some of the skill sets that I have in terms of reading, doing consultations, spiritual consultations for people. No one can tell us what we need to be doing. There are a lot of people who have really great tools and resources that will help us do what we need to be doing, but no one of us can look at another life and say, this is where you belong. Now, we can encourage one another, we can poke and prod at one another when we see the gifts that we each hold and carry. You would be amazing at this. I bet you would be so amazing doing this, leading that, learning that, teaching that. We can help one another orient ourselves to our gifts. And that is what people once did in community, much smaller communities than what we navigate now. But maybe we've expanded the capacity to navigate larger communities. You know, I'm talking about this idea that way back in ancient cultures, people's communities might be 100 or 200 people. I don't remember what the number is, but it's way less than most people's social media accounts these days. You know, like we only had the capacity for 100 or a couple hundred people, which makes a lot of sense. And what I'm suggesting just in that moment is that maybe we have, because of the requirements of our technological lives, maybe our capacity has expanded a bit. I'm not saying I believe that, but it's just something that occurred to me. So there's nobody out there who can tell you what the right choice is for your life, what the right actions are for your life. And that's been really difficult for me, because then what am I going to come in here and say? Like, I'm just going to talk around the subject like I feel I often do, and I can't give any direct pointers. Go do this, go learn that, go stop doing that. Like, I'm not able to do that. I was actually never able to do that. And this man who is on the, the Creative on the Mend channel on YouTube, he does also talk about that. You know, we don't have the answers for one another in our individual capacity, but in our collective capacity, I do think that we have answers for one another. And that comes through us like encouraging one another. I've said this before. If somebody creates something, whatever that might be, pulling themselves together in the morning and wearing a particular color, the way that they greet a child, whatever it is out there in the world that is inspiring you, when another human being is attached to it, find a way to let that person know that they have touched you. It's small things like that that let people understand and recognize that they do matter. They did at least matter in that moment. And a lot of people are struggling with, am I even relevant? Am I even relevant? This used to be something that seemed to be just set aside for our elderly population, our elders, the question of, am I relevant anymore? And I would see this asked of women more openly than of men, but men also struggle with this. Women are, used to be locked up in the beauty bottle, and men used to be locked up in the production and work bottle. Again, those things are also disintegrating, those forms of social relatedness. I'm not saying they're totally going away, but we have been challenging that a lot more. And we're coming into a season of humanity where we're going to be challenging those classifications a lot more. What I'm saying is, while it used to be pretty contained to a certain age group and certain areas of life within those age groups, everybody is now exposed to this idea of relevance. Why do I matter? What am I here for? These are the questions that many, many people are asking right now. And this is a conversation that I have been trying to figure out how to be helpful towards, because it is incredibly difficult. It's even more difficult when we're going through this sense of loss of self. There is a tremendous amount of grief that comes up when people retire, when people divorce, when people move to another city, state, country. When we leave a situation, however we leave it, there's loss, there's grief. And there are a lot of people experiencing this and not even recognizing that there's this tremendous sense of loss at identity and our ability to relate to ourselves and with the world in a way that makes sense to us. A lot of us are in a senseless place right now. We do not understand what's happening. We feel overwhelmed by the news cycle about things that many of us cannot do anything about on a personal level, which brings me back to the collective again, and collective contributions, and saying hello to one another and encouraging one another when we express ourselves in ways that inspire us. Let me get this other, the other channel is a man named Elton. His channel on YouTube is L10 Raw. I think it's letter L, number 10, and RAW. I thought it was super clever. Yeah, letter L, number 10, Raw. And his conversation yesterday, this was maybe the day before yesterday, the one truth that heals your visibility wound. So also a really good conversation about these transitional times when we are learning new things about ourselves, when we are trying on new ways of expressing. It's like someone getting a new haircut. Maybe you've always been a long hair wearer and you decide you need to change it up, and you get this new cut and you feel incredibly uncomfortable in your skin. You feel great and you also feel uncomfortable, it feels a little different. Or back in the day, for women who weren't used to wearing makeup, feeling like there's a mask on the face. And I say back in the day because it's been probably a decade since I worn makeup. And I know every time I've had something on my face, I've just felt like I had this whole other face on top of my face. It felt like a physical, it just felt like my face was 10 feet out, and it was super awkward and fun at the same time. But So it's like there's this blend of feeling and sensation about it. Like, yes, this is the direction that I need to be going in. And at the same time, I am so unsure of myself. I feel incredibly uncomfortable. And actually, I'd rather just turn around and go back the way I came. A lot of us are feeling that because of it's just uncertainty. We are just in a time of uncertainty. And going back to something I think I opened with, many of us are raised in cultures that do not embrace uncertainty and the fact that we don't have answers to most of life's questions. I think that's really the truth of it. We think we have answers, especially if we've grown up in cultures that have money and resources that the people have access to, and technology, and where we're prizing education and academics over like lived experience. We have been conditioned to think that there's an answer to everything, and that if we can't find an answer, we just need to keep looking, that it's there. We are currently in a period of time where we might not live to see the answer of what this new world is that we're creating. Many of us might not be here to see the full answer play itself out, if that's even possible. I think in some ways it might be, because I'm thinking of the US. So the USA, we have I think it's our 250th birthday anniversary coming up in July 2026. Is it our 200? I don't like doing math, guys. Certainly not on the spot. We've got a birthday coming up in July, and it's a big birthday. I think symbolically, like in the symbolic world, even more so than in the external world, because there's like, I'm not even sure who all out there's paying attention to it, except for the folks in my communities that pay attention to symbols and dates and numbers and things like this. So what got me off on this track is I'm saying I don't know that it's possible to see the answer to a question, but our country, the way that our country was set up, was considered an experiment to many people. And I do think that there has been a lot of data in terms of the experiment of the United States of America. And we have gotten answers to a lot of questions. Things like, how would people respond if X, Y, and Z? How long would it take people to do E, F, and J? And because we live in a dynamic, I'm going to say universe, but definitely a dynamic world, since that's our immediate experience is this planet, the answer is also changing. It has the capacity to change and respond. So yes, we have come up to this period in time of the US. It's not 250, is it 400? You guys can laugh at me. I don't care. Math, I need to make friends with math. I actually have been thinking about making friends with math. But yeah, go ahead. That's an easy. You can crack at me all you like. So we've had this experiment for however many hundreds of years we're coming up on now. And the answer is not complete yet. We're not done yet. 250 years. Wow, only 250 years. That is nuts. We are such a baby, guys, in the USA. That A is important. Okay, anyway. And actually, what I keep getting sidetracked from here is it's an important thing to keep in mind. Our experiment is not over. It's a long-running experiment. Probably the entire planet Earth is a long-running experiment. And if you are able to tap into people who like to go galactic with their history of the Earth, it's fascinating. It's a whole lot of information that I don't have a lot of room for right now, but some of you can soak that up and do amazing things with it that can help further our human story. So if that just tweaked your brain, and you're like, what is that? That's your research bone. Go do something with it and come back and report to the group. We have the opportunity to create. When Elton gets in and starts having his conversation about his experiences with what it takes to develop, and I'm going to put this in my words, because one of the reasons why his message stood out to me is because I have been in this question and in this struggle myself for the past chunk of time. Exploring new things, wanting to express myself in new ways, including where I live, how I dress, the people that I know, all very challenging experiences in my life right now. And I am not able to rely heavily on who I've been and where I've come from. It is like that world. I can see her in the distance, but I don't have access to that material. Almost down to actually like a physical, like my physical things. I carried a few things with me, but I don't have access to the things that have been a part of my life for like 20, 30 years. Longer for some of them. So what I'm saying is there's this nervousness that happens in the body when we are stepping into new places. You can recognize this when you reflect back on any time you stepped into a new job or a new position within a job that you'd had. You can think about this when you reflect back on when you became a parent, or when you had the next milestone in parenting that required something new of you that you had not tested out before and you had no idea how to do it. We are there. All of us are there. We do not know what's coming. And part of the reason that we don't know what's coming is because a lot of us haven't taken up the tools to create the thing. Like, we cannot control life. We cannot control life. And simultaneously, we are not designed to be passive participants in life every second of our lives. We have been given some mad tools to design with. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. And it's going to look a little mad, a little crazy, a little frenetic. Some splash paint patterns all over the place, some Cuisinart food processors with the lid that wasn't on tight. Like, we're going to be making messes because we haven't been here before. We haven't been here before in ourselves, and we haven't been here before in our communities, our collective, our society, our thinking, the technology that we have that we're dealing with now. We have not been here in this moment in time before, and we don't know what's ahead of us, and we can't tap back into what's behind us. We cannot hold on to that. That stuff it's gone, it's going, we need to let it go. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't learned some skills from where we have been that will carry us forward. But for some of us out there, we're probably questioning the majority of the skills that have carried us this far. It's one of the reasons why I go back and forth on astrology and human design, like, all the time. You know what I don't go back on yet? I still find the I Ching incredibly useful. I still find a good tarot pull incredibly useful. I'll just give you a little, I know some of you, your brains have probably like conked out at the mention of those things. Hang in here with me. I'm not saying you have to get into them. I'm saying there are tools available to every one of us. These just happen to be some of the tools that I enjoy. And when it comes to tarot, it's the visual and tactile experience of that deck. And the fact that it's like looking at dreams in real time, like dreams that I can move around and work a story out in my waking life. So back to the mission of this conversation. We are walking between worlds right now, and this could last the rest of our lives for those of us who are in the millennial and Gen X, but maybe even Gen Z timeframe. That's not to say that we're not going to see a lot of changes, because if you guys are paying attention to what some of the folks who are experts in the fields of economics and all of the fields, even historians and just folks who pay attention to patterns and have an expertise in marking patterns and anticipating next patterns, we are in a season of great and tremendous change, and we're going to see that in our lifetime. I don't believe we're going to see the culmination of that. I don't know that we're going to see the fleshed out, feathery bird of whatever this is becoming. But our participation is required. And I believe in order to participate for many of us, and this is me getting back to Jeff, who was the creative on the Mend, and Elton with his channel, especially about what I'm going to call nervous system regulation, because that's a huge part of what I took from his conversation. The ability to hold our ground as we are witnessing ourselves in the process of becoming a new version of ourselves. The entire planet is doing this right now, and we are doing this as individuals. And for some of us, it's really, really difficult, tricky, terrifying. It's for some of us so unfamiliar that we're convinced that we're doing something wrong. We must be doing something wrong, because we don't recognize that the discomfort that we're in, the discomfort of not having a job, the discomfort of not knowing how to correct the situation of not having a job, the discomfort of being bored out of your mind with a profession or an interest or a skill set that you once had all the love in the world for, the experience of not finding the love of your life still at whatever age you're at. You guys listed off what's plaguing you right now. What is it that is happening in your life or not happening in your life that has you saying, I'm doing something wrong? Because chances are really good that we're trying to approach doing the thing right from a way of being that is dying with the old system. And chances are we each, individually and together in our groups, have to develop the ways of doing our lives well in the new ways. And when we're developing something, maybe we have a vision and some visual to work towards, but often it's really being able to follow the sense, the internal sense of direction. You get an inspiration. Something brings you a tremendous amount of relief. Something someone said, something you read, something you heard, something you smelled, and it inspires you to a moment of peace, or it inspires you to learn a little bit more about it, get curious about it, pass it on to someone else. We are in Hansel and Gretel baby breadcrumb, back out of the forest, guys. Not to the witch's house. We have been to the witch's house. We have been hanging out with that heifer. We're not going back, but we're coming out. The breadcrumbs, the red thread, Ariadne's thread through the labyrinth, like even with the myths, every once in a while, if I have this ambivalent, like, are those myths still accurate? Are they still useful? There are pieces of them that are absolutely still useful. And this idea of following the threads, following the little hints, that is one of the ways that we're going to find our way through, but we're not going to be able to see the full picture. And we're probably not going to get a whole lot of confirmation that we're even going in the right, whatever quote unquote right directions are. Hopefully you get some confirmation. And I do still believe wholeheartedly that when we ask our team in spirit to talk to us, hold my freaking hand. Like, I actually say that prayer a lot right now. I'm like, okay, I am so far out of my depth right now. And then I will I'll flip over to, wait a minute, I am given co-creative capacity. So I can actually stand fully upright in myself and say, this is what I want. Bring me these experiences. So it's this back and forth. It's a balancing, it's a titration. I love that word, titration. Balancing them, though, as a body worker, one of my clinical massage teachers explained to a class years ago was that people have this idea that balance means that the one holding the pose is perfectly still. And from the outside, it might look like that. But if we look at the body from the inside, everything that needs to be moving and adjusting to hold that balance, to hold that pose, is working simultaneously. So some things might be in a state of relaxation and other things are in a state of contraction. There are signals bouncing off everywhere. There is a lot of internal work going on to hold our balance. And that is the place that we're in right now. We need to remember that we are in a time where we do not have to have the answer to the questions that we're asking. The inspiration that shows up in our experience and our awareness is one of the little bluebirds of happiness that are going to deliver us to our next destination. And I'm not talking about the big grand finale destination. I'm talking about the next step along the experience of life that you are creating for yourself. And I believe I'm going to pause there and let you guys sit with that. Hopefully there is a line of something in here that is meaningful and buoyant to you and your spirit. I 50 cajillion% understand those of us out here who are struggling with the where do I belong question. How do I apply myself in life at this time? Especially having come from such a strong and sustained period in my life where I knew exactly who I was, where I needed to be, and what I was doing. And I did it. It was magnificent. And now I'm like, oh my God. So yes, I am in here with you, and I'm doing my best to offer my keys of encouragement for you to take and move about the world with just the support of another human being who recognizes the effort that it is taking to shift with our story as we're shifting right now. It takes a tremendous amount of effort. We are entirely capable of doing it. And it's individual. We are responsible for our individual selves, but we I do believe we also have a responsibility to reach out, at least to the person next to us, and say, I see you. I so appreciate your perspective. Please tell me more. Small conversations like that with the people around us, just to remind ourselves and the people that we come in contact with that we do, in fact, need one another. Okay, guys, that's it for me for today. I have been brewing and stewing on a Gen X conversation. I had a dream a few months ago, and I woke up and had all kinds of things to write down. And I've just been sitting in the background because I didn't understand how to apply it, but it seems to be pulling itself together. So I might be starting that conversation in a little while. Take care. Have a good Wednesday, and I'll talk to you again soon.